everyone, Jim Williams here in the newsroom. When we're on the stream, we are talking about the big day in Washington today. Biden and Trump meet at the White House. The Senate has a new majority leader, and there's been a flurry of cabinet picks made by the president-elect. And joining us now to discuss all this is Dr. Kevin Boyle. He's a professor of history at Northwestern University. Dr. Boyle, thanks. Good to be with you.
Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it.
So President Biden hosted President-elect Trump today at the White House. It was a cordial meeting, at least what we saw on camera. Is there any value in such a meeting, considering Trump didn't invite Biden to the White House 4 years ago?
Yeah, there's kind of two huge advantages to this meeting. One is the symbolic nature of it. Every president except Donald Trump welcomed his successor to the White House for well over half a century now. I don't actually know when the tradition started. And it's a symbolic move that says that the continuity of government, the shift from one party to another, is a peaceful transfer of power. So that's hugely important. Whether there's substance to it or not kind of depends on the interaction between the two, the outgoing president and the incoming president. In the past, sometimes those have been really substantive discussions. Other times, they haven't been. It really depends on the particulars of the moment and the particulars of the president.
It's such an unusual situation because the current president is inviting the former president and the future president to a meeting.
Yeah, now that, I admit, is absolutely unusual. There's only been one other time in the late 19th century when a president served two terms broken by a different president's term in between them.
What do you make of the flurry of Trump's picks for his cabinet just a week after the election? Is that par for the course, or is this unusual?
It's moving really quickly. More quickly than is a typical process for a transition to make. So in that sense, it's unusual. And then a couple of the picks, really one or two of the picks have been really very surprising.
Including his pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He is a Fox News host, but also a decorated military veteran. How unusual is that?
Oh, that's the stunning appointment to this point. And what makes it particularly stunning is that he won't bring to arguably the most complex of cabinet positions any managerial experience whatsoever. Defense Department is an absolutely huge department. So it has enormous power, of course, but it also just has a lot of employees. And he is now Donald Trump is now putting in charge of that enormous institution, someone who has never managed an institution.
Let's talk about the Senate now. The Senate has a new majority leader, John Thune of South Dakota. There were a number of very strong Trump loyalists who were arguing for Rick Scott, the senator from Florida. What do you make of that?
It's a little surprising, but not dramatically surprising. Thune was the favorite of the senatorial Republican caucus, and it would have been a bit of a shock if the Senate had rejected him in favor of someone who was even more closely aligned with Donald Trump, someone like Scott, or Cornyn. But the fact of the matter is that the Republican caucus is going to be lined up behind the president-elect, no matter who is in that position. It's a little bit of an attempt by the Republican senators to assert their independence, which is exactly what they should do. It's a separate branch of government, but it's not going to be a dramatically different pick.
Dr. Boyle, what are you going to be looking for in the next few weeks?
I'm really anxious to see a couple of other really major appointments. The Secretary of the Treasury, for instance, is going to be a really fundamentally important appointment, to see how Donald Trump fills out his cabinet and what that says about his commitment to the agenda that he ran on during the campaign.
Dr. Kevin Boyle of Northwestern University, thanks so much. I hope we can do it again.
Love to. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Let's begin with your nonstop news and the effort to help dozens of people forced from their homes by a deadly fire at an apartment complex in Woodstock.
Our Jackie Kostek at the scene and shows us the extent of this damage caused by a large fire there.
We don't have a lot of information about the victims yet, but Woodstock Fire and Rescue says that one man died in this fire and 2 others have been injured, a woman and a baby who were taken to the hospital with smoke inhalation. Now, the cause of the fire is still under investigation, but we know that more than 30 people are without a home today. So take a look behind me. You can see the extent of that damage, or at least from the outside, you can see a lot of the windows are already boarded up. And if you take a look, you can see the fire where it tore through the roof of this building. We're told that the ground floor unit second in is the unit where the man died. Now take a look at cell phone video taken of that fire last night. You can see massive flames engulfing the building. Firefighters say the fire spread to 12 units, half of the building. Woodstock Fire and Rescue was able to contain the fire within a couple of hours, but did stay on scene overnight to manage hotspots. They say more than 20 neighboring fire departments helped in their efforts. One man who lives in this building says he came home to see the entire building engulfed in flames.
I can imagine it's like you're right. We're right there, right where that big fire was happening. Is right where it was right on top of our building, or right on top of our apartment.
For the people who did lose everything, Woodstock Fire and Rescue has set up a temporary relocation shelter a couple of blocks away from here at St. John's Lutheran Church. The American Red Cross also has volunteers out to help those people. The cause of the fire, again, is still under investigation. Jackie Kostek, CBS News, Chicago.
We are also following breaking news in Chinatown after 2 men were shot and killed there. Police officers found one man outside the apartment building at 24th and Normal around 10 last night. He was shot several times and died there at the scene. A second man shot. Russ rushed to the hospital and he later died. Chicago police are also investigating 2 burglaries overnight.
And in both of the cases, the burglars used similar methods to get inside. Just after 2:30 this morning, someone smashed in the front glass door of a restaurant near Ogden and Ashland. Police say the burglars took an undisclosed amount of cash from the register. And then around 3 this morning, they say the front glass door of a bakery was also shattered near Taylor and Ogden. We're told they got away with a cash register. No one is in custody in either of those robberies.
And a man is in the hospital after he was shot outside a Family Dollar in South Shore. Chicago police say he was one of 3 would-be robbers who went into the store near 79th and Yates last night. They say one of the men pulled out a gun and pistol whipped an unarmed security guard there. Then as the 3 suspects left the store, someone in the parking lot shot the 60-year-old suspect, again that would-be robber, in the chest. By the time police arrived, the shooter and the 2 other suspects were gone. Charges are now pending against that 60-year-old who was shot.
Members of the Chicago Teachers Union and parents rallied last night calling for CPS to do more to make old buildings safer and more environmentally friendly. They want lead pipes replaced, lead filtering water fountains, and asbestos and mold removed from campuses. This is the latest sticking point in their ongoing and lengthy negotiations with the district over a new teacher's contract.
Why would CPS refuse to put in writing that they are committed to removing toxins from our schools?
When I think of a green school, I think of schools that have a healthy lunch, gardens, and water that is not contaminated.
Union leaders are asking the district to act quickly, saying they are concerned the Trump administration could cut education funding.
1,700 nurses at UI Health are on strike right now. The University of Illinois nurses wanted some relief from what they say are unfair labor practices. They've been negotiating for a new contract since June, and then they went on strike for about a week back in August when the old contract expired. The nurses are asking for safer working conditions, increased staffing, and higher pay. Back in August, UI Health said it values the critical role nurses play, and they also said they hope to reach an agreement beneficial to both parties.
Low pressure comes through and that passes off toward the east. So that's going to keep things on the wetter side through the evening, overnight hours, and then eventually tapering mostly off towards some light drizzle and some low clouds through the morning hours on Thursday. By 11 o'clock, we still have at least some dreary skies out there, possibly a shower lingering for the afternoon, but clouds will start to break in the late day and really start to break apart Thursday night into Friday. So our rainfall forecast, we're on target to pick up anywhere between a quarter to a half an inch, maybe upwards of 3/4 of an inch, and most of that rain falls here this evening. 53 degrees tomorrow, 53 degrees. Really not moving too much in our temperatures until at least the weekend. 7-day forecast, partly cloudy on Friday, 57 Saturday, Sunday, going up to 60. I do have a small chance at an isolated shower, but I do think the better chance will hold off for late Monday into Tuesday. Here, there, we're looking at temps in the middle, upper 50s, close to 60 again.
Now to breaking news as we keep an eye on your world. 2 employees are dead after a factory explosion in Kentucky.
The blast caused a partial building collapse. It also blew out windows in nearby homes and businesses. The explosion happened yesterday afternoon at a Louisville factory that makes food coloring. First responders originally brought 11 people to the hospital. Some of them were in critical condition.
Now firefighters on the east and west coasts are battling wildfires, including a new one just north of Boston. Then in California, we've been showing you the so-called mountain fire. It's burned hundreds of homes and buildings so far. The fire chief there admits that crews have made a few tactical mistakes, but he's standing by the strategy, noting nobody has died.
Tactical error is when one of our companies pulls up with zero visibility and 80-mile-an-hour winds and embers is flying in their face, and they take that 3-second pause to identify a structure, and they look and say, is this structure savable? And they're going to reanalyze that and say, maybe I should have bumped to the next house.
On the East Coast, a fire burning in Lynn, Massachusetts. It's being blamed on people burning leaves there. And then in New Jersey, the Jennings Creek fire burning closer and closer to homes. The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning both in Massachusetts and Connecticut.
The FAA banned all flights to Haiti for 30 days after multiple airlines discovered bullet damage to planes headed for the United States. We told you yesterday morning how a Spirit Airlines plane was forced to divert to the Dominican Republic after it was struck by gunfire while attempting to land in Port-au-Prince. The FBI is trying to determine if flights are being targeted by criminal gangs in Haiti.
Well, Matt Eberflus has survived the Bears' latest tailspin for now by firing his second offensive coordinator in less than a year. As expected, Shane Waldron is out after just 9 games on the job. Passing game coordinator Thomas Brown takes over play calling duties with the rival Packers coming to Soldier Field on Sunday. Waldron is the fall guy for an offense that's fallen flat, but he didn't do himself any favors with failed gimmicks and underutilizing an array of weapons assembled around Caleb Williams. The prize #1 pick has regressed during a losing 3-game scoring drought, completing just 50% of his passes with no touchdowns and 18 sacks, often holding on to the football too long. There's going to be a whole lot of questions when the Bears return to Hallis Hall later today, but in a statement, Eberflus said, after evaluating our entire operation, I decided that it is in the best interest of our team to move in a different direction with the leadership of our offense. This decision was well thought out and one that was conducted deliberately and respectfully. The Sky is also hitting the restart button, introducing their 3rd head coach since winning a WNBA title just 3 years ago. Tyler Marsh replaces the one-and-done Teresa Weatherspoon after helping the Las Vegas Aces win back-to-back championships as an assistant. The first-time head coach says his background in player development is built on developing strong relationships.
It's everything. It's who I am and aspire to continue to be as a coach. But even in player development, a big part of my philosophy is that trust, factor. Once you can get a player to buy into you, and once you bought into the individual, the basketball stuff comes easy. So we want to invest in people first, and basketball comes next.
Obviously, he comes in with a lot of experience, but he also comes in with the mindset of creating a certain culture, and I think he's been intentional about communicating with us. The basketball stuff will come, but essentially, when you're trying to reestablish what things will look like, I think he's great for the job.
After a 2-0 start, new UIC head coach Rob Eason in Evanston to take on Chris Collins and the Cats. The Flames were down double digits, but then caught fire late. Sasha Ciani with the and one to make it a 4-point game with 1:35 to play. But on the ensuing possession, Nick Martinelli hangs and hits, plus the foul to put Northwestern back up 7. Martinelli finished with 27, his 3rd straight 20-point game to start the season. NU wins it 83-74. Joe Pizzotti filling in for the ailing Doug Bruno with the DePaul women visiting Northside neighbor Loyola. Final minute of the first quarter, Natalie Bernard gets the steal and then converts the 3-point play to put the Ramblers up. The Blue Demons were back in front in the 4th when Taylor Johnson-Matthews hits the step-back 3. DePaul, they get bragging rights with the 75-60 win. Not a good night for Chicago State, who got walloped down at Texas, 105-58. That's a look at your morning sports. I'm Ryan Baker. Have a wonderful Wednesday.
We have a cloudy day and eventually a wet one. This evening, we have widespread rains that go into tonight, transitioning to where we've got some dreary skies for the start of Thursday. Temperatures really not moving from here on out. It'll be in the 50s through today, tonight, and tomorrow. Rain's going to be coming this way after 5 o'clock, and then widespread rains through 10, 11. Light rain showers for Thursday morning. Even into the afternoon, we could see a couple of showers here or there. Cloudy skies will continue. Skies will break apart for some sunshine on Friday. Weekend forecast, a milder feel, highs by Sunday in the 60s.
All right, Laura, thank you.
Reading someone else's story gives you the opportunity to step into their shoes, right? Well, that is the goal for some College of DuPage students. They want to better understand the kids they'll work with in the juvenile justice system. Sarah Maki is listening to their stories and finding out how it works.
The ensemble goal is that you are working with a group.